made such course mastery. In this channel, we try to ensure that medical concepts and concerns are understood in piecemeal. We believe that anyone can actually become a champion if you are ready to learn how you will master hard moments. People who always win are not so special. Can I pause here and say, it is not about you comparing yourself with another fellow, but it's about you discovering and realizing that you are super different, uniquely uh, special. Okay, now brain and anatomy. Many of you were doing well in your first year, okay, in your secondary school, nursery school, and the rest of them. But as you come into this issue of medicine preclinical year one or preclinical year two, that's your second 211, 300 level in MDCN approved colleges. Okay, guess what? It looks as if anatomy reduce your pride and your steez and everything. But guess what? This channel gets your back. Subscribe and then share. There are thousands of people, real people, who are not just like you, but they share common challenge. Okay, they share common challenge of it's difficult. How do we understand anatomy of the skull? Now, reasons why the brain hates reading. This is not what we are looking at. This is just like a yara. I'm going to let you know how you're going to turn, okay, that same zeal that is needed to do what? Watch this closely. Okay, the same zeal needed to stay on your phone, watch a movie all night. Stay on your phone, scroll all through hours. All right. But when you pick a book, all right, I want to flip over. Guess what? You find yourself dozing. See, let me tell you this. You are not alone on this. Any professor, any doctor, any student, any distinction fellow, person who passed by luck or who passed by labor that say, come on, he has not faced that kind of a challenge. Well, they are not few. Let me not say it's lying, but let me say they are not they are not mean. They are only few. Okay, very few. All right, very few. So what am I trying to say? Including myself speaking to you, I discovered that I can scroll through for hours. But to do that with book is a challenge. Now we need to turn our distraction into our sufficiency, our deficiency into sufficiency. How do we go about that? Please drop a thumbs up, give a subscribe if this thing is really making sense to you. We are going to see anatomy. We are going to see anatomy of upper and lower limb. Okay, by 10 a.m., please tune in. We'll be looking at anatomy of upper and lower limbs. Specifically, we'll be narrowing in into muscles, what you were not told, things you need to know before you even look at another muscle. But now we are looking at skull. Just when we're about to look at skull, okay, we'll be looking at how do we look at this skull as we are studying. It's just one of the first session and episode. Make sure you are subscribing. If you are new to this channel, you're seeing this first before, or you've always been here on the comment section and you have never done what subscribe, make sure you subscribe. Let this reach out to thousands of people who are out there not seeing a way out. Can we continue? Okay, so be looking at skull anatomy and you need to stay to the end. It will not take more than 30 minutes. 30 minutes and we end this session. 30 minutes straight to the point, getting fun. Now, the first one, reason why the brain hates reading. Pay attention to this because at the end or in between the study of skull, which we'll be doing screen sharing on the study, I'm going to bring to you how you can convert, okay, your book to be that interesting, how you can actually magnet, you can actually attract, you can actually capture a picture of what features in that your brochure. Good. Yeah, you can capture a picture of the what features in your brochure. That's your book. Okay, so I'm going to give it to you. Okay, so that when you pick your book, it can be interesting, as interesting, if not more interesting, because reading is not interesting. For people say reading is a scam. Some even go to a level of saying studying, education is a scam. Well, whether that's true or not, that's not why this is. We are here to study skull anatomy. Reason why the brain hates study. Reason why the brain hates reading. This phase, we are looking at reading first before we look at studying. Studying is not as discouraging to the brain as reading, because in studying, you engage, you are engaging, you are stimulated. Okay, but guess what? In reading, you're not stimulated. Okay, so what's so special about that? Now, let me run through all this so that we get into study, and then after we apply one or two, we end this session by some one or two tips on how you can make your study of your anatomy, your study of maybe any other book, okay, to be that interesting, to be that wonderful and amazing. Is that okay now? All right, thank you. So, number one, it's slow. It's slow. Can you imagine that? When you open the book, it's slow. And guess what? It's not only slow, but it is what? It is unchanging. There's no spice. There's no, when you are watching a movie, there are a lot of acts and scene. Within a split of minutes, okay, you have a lot of different words, different character, different moves. But see, your book is not like that. Okay. So we said it is slow. Number two, it requires effort. Okay. Now the other one, you are just with your phone, no effort, no this thing, everything passive. The arts and the thought has already been spelled out. It drains energy. Next one, it's unfamiliar. It needs focus. It's not instantly rewarding. Can you imagine that? Low dopamine firing. Can you imagine that? It challenges the brain. Okay. It requires visual stamina. It involves imagination. Too many options. And guess what? It feels like a chore. Feel like a house call. I know when last I ran away from a house call, you can, when the house call is just too much on you, like you cry out for help, like maybe murmuring. That's how the book is. It is not following a pattern. It is so those who are saying this is difficult, they're actually those who can solve that within seconds. That's why check this channel, subscribe, always subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Be sure you subscribe. In fact, the same way we can help people, okay, we let people go through a handheld process of understanding some basic concept in this new channel that is just starting. Guess what? It's the same way I want you to ensure that you supervise the subscribing of the people you know, and the sharing of this channel, so that it can be a blessing to others. It can be a hope, it can be an answer to other people's prayers, unprayed prayers. Yeah. So now let's move back to this. What do I mean? Why are the reasons the brain hates you? We've already done 7 minutes into this, and I'm going to use 10 to 15 minutes or 20 to look at the anatomy of the skull, and use the remaining time of 5 to 10 minutes to look at the other one. How do we convert? Okay, how do we convert the very same physiological process that is involved when you are watching a video, either home video or your screen or your phone? Convert it to study. All right, not just to study, but to storing it. These are two different things. One, you study. Number two, you store it. Now, can I say this? One of those ways is to ask for help. Don't do it alone. Don't believe you can do it alone. See how much you could do alone, and it's not going anywhere. So for you to go far, you need to go with someone. And this channel offers you that handheld process. That's why we say subscribe, like, share, drop it in the comments. Let's get to know which part of this jump on you. Do you follow? Okay. Thumbs up if you are with me. All right. So moving away from there, we said we want to look to anatomy of the skull. I'm going to drop this as usual in the channel, so you go through and read it and then get yourself a lot of more explanation. So let's get down to anatomy of the skull. We just need just 5 to 15 minutes on this, and then we end the session with what? How to convert, okay, how you watch video, and you can actually recall, you can narrate the story of the movie you watch, you can share with some, and people do, like the football session, like the entertainment movie and all that. Okay, so we're going to see how do we are just going to give you a few tips in 5 to 15 at the end of this session. Make sure you watch to the end. All right, so we jump now into anatomy of the skull. All right, here we are in anatomy of the skull, osteology of the skull. You see, before now, we had looked at okay, the skull that we said the skull is what? Is the bony framework, is the skeleton of the head, because this is head and neck, a third in course work, head and neck. And then we have already said, okay, what's the next thing? Yeah, this is the structure. Okay, we've said the head and neck. What were the things we looked at? Don't forget, today we are looking at something new. Yesterday, I think day before, so okay, we have looked at anatomy of the heart, and we said that, okay, I think I need to bring this here so I can see you. Okay, now the skull, pay attention closely. Okay, the skull is the skeleton of the head. All right, and then we say the skull is divided into two, and there are a lot of interlockings called sutures, interlockings of joints interlocking together, something like this. Okay, in wonderful anatomical ways of wonders. Okay, guess what? And we said the up part, okay, proximal part, okay, now is called the cranium, all right, the cranium, and this lower part is called mandibles. Now that cranium has a roof and then has a base. We say that roof is called calvary. Calvary. You heard of Calvary before? And that's how you study anatomy. You connect, okay? You engage. You try to recall, oh, come on now, you must be a Christian, or you must know about the Christians. So Calvary, cross of Calvary, something like that, where a Jesus was hung on that cross, okay? So you relate the roof of the brain, of the skull, to Calvary. Now the difference is the spelling of this Calvary is R-I-A, not R-Y. Calvaria. Do you see? Not Calvary, not spelled like the Calvary cross, but this one is spelled I-A. All right. We're making progress. Moving away from there, we now said the base is called basicranium. The base from the word base, cranium. So the only thing you add, you change the E to I, basic cranium, basic cranium. Now moving away from there, we said the cranium is divided into two. We have neurocranium, and then we have what we call viscerocranium. Now yesterday we looked at viscerocranium. The first class we had in head and neck, we look at neurocranium. We said the neurocranium has three characteristics, and it has 8 bones. Has three characteristics, and it has 8 bones. And as we're looking at the bones and the characteristics, we said number one, that the neurocranium, okay, contains the viscera. Watch this now. It contains the cranial nerve. Contains the cranial nerve, and what else does it do? It contains the cranial nerve, okay, of the brain. Contains the cranial nerves of the brain. Very, very important. Don't forget that. Contains the cranial brain of the brain, and the cranial nerve of the brain. And then the next thing we said, it contains the vasculatures of the brain. Now, moving away from there, we talk about BBC. That's the second one. That is brain, bony, brain, bony cavity, or brain bony covering. Okay, the neurocranium is the brain bony case or covering. Now, on that covering, there's epithelium. There's a membrane covering it called cranial meninges. Cranial meninges. Okay, cranial meninges. Very important. Okay, meninges, meninges. Cranial meninges. That was the thing we do. And before we came here, guess what? We were actually running through the screenshot. We took the notes, we tell the notes, we take down the notes, and we talk the notes. That's the process. So for you to capture what you picture, what you looked at, you must take note. Have a book, you write down something, like we did. Have another book that you try to rough out what you wrote down. First you copy, next you and then not only that, you may not be copying everything, but when you read, you have a book, okay, R for recite, recall, write out. What can I recall that I did? You follow? Now, so we are done with that. We're done with that. Talk about the base and the roof. We've talked about the The bony framework, we talk about what it contains. And guess what? We talk about the shape. Say it's a dome shape. Say it's a dome shape. See, it's a dome shape. All right. Now, there's another thing we talk about, the neurocrane. The neurocrane, we said, it has a very special name called the cranial vault, VC. Who does not know VC, Vice Chancellor? Every school you've been, if you are a university student or polytechnic, that's called a higher institution, you know of VC. So as you see VC or as you hear VC, as the thought of VC comes, guess what happens? You connect it with vaults of the cranium, cranial vault or vault of the cranium. That's neurocranium for you. Okay, so after that, we now talk about the bones. Talk about the bones. We said four of those bones are single, while three of those two of those while two of those pairs, two of them, four of them are in two pairs. That's the TP. We say transport, temporal bone and the parietal bone, from parietal and viscera. If you have been playing with histology and tap with us in the channel, which I strongly suggest you should go into, should look at it, and then let's understand, let's appreciate what you're gaining. Okay, what's it by the time? 15 minutes. We have about 15 minutes to finish this session. So we've run through what we did on viscera, and then the next one we did was in neurocranium. The next one we consider was the visceral cranium. The visceral cranium. The visceral cranium, we say, was made up of how many? 15 bones. So it was made up of 15, and we say it's the bones of the face. Bones of the face. That's why you call it visceral cranium. Whereas the bones of the head are called cranium, neurocranium, neurocranium. Okay, so we said the first one is the one for the mouth. Okay, the one for the mouth, upper and lower, jaws. The one for the nasal. Okay, and then there's a one for the orbit, the one around the orbit, around this is our orbit, the eye area. So how do you store this thing? You store by 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 talk to me now. You store this thing by number S. You show it. You study to show. When you read, when you say, when you share, what else do? You take a tap. You touch this thing. So as I'm talking about the visceral cranium, you are touching it. When you're talking about the neurocranium, you are touching it. Remember the neurocranium, there are four. Sorry, there are eight. Okay, there are eight. We said there are eight. Watch this now. We said you have the occipital, okay? You have the ethmoidal, okay? You have the sphenoid, okay? And guess what? You also have, watch this, you also have the frontal bone. Frontal bone, you touch it. The ethmoidal bone, you touch it. The sphenoid bone, you touch it. And guess what? The occipital bone, you touch it. So now when you are coming into the concept of visceral cranial, you also touch it. As we talk about the mouth upper, that's one. Talk about the nasal, that's two. And then you talk about the orbit, that's what? The three different sections. But in that three different sections, watch this. There are 15 irregular, three single, okay, three single and six bilateral. The three singles include the mandible, the ethmoid, and the vomer. The mandible, the ethmoid, and the vomer. The vomer is here, all right? The mandible is here. The vomer is here, okay? And the what? The vomer. Now, moving away from there, we have the six pairs. The six pairs. Now, we have told you that we are ready. So if you have not seen it, you should go and check. We are raising, okay, I've raised in the mornings on how to recall these bones, so we don't want to look at that again. So you check the video, so we save our time. I want to use some time now to look at something new. But watch how we are correlating this thing. Watch how we are joining this concept. Watch that we are making this thing, make sure it makes a whole lot of sense to us. First, we started with the skull. Okay, next we started with the characteristics of the skull, started with the division of the skull, and then we look into the bones and the smaller bones in the bones, and then how these bones are joined together called sutures, okay, interlocked together called sutures. And now we are looking at the bones of the visceral cranium. Now today we are looking at something else today. Okay, we're looking at, watch this closely, the skull from several positions. we're looking at the skull from several positions. So as usual, you take your book. This is not a presentation. This is a learning. As we learn in parts. You take your book and you take notes. All right. And then guess what? You talk the notes. And then guess what? You discuss the note. You tell the note. Okay. So tell it to someone. Join the studio. How do you call it now? Join the. I hope you can see me clearly. I want you to really see me clearly. Okay, and I want to also see. All right, so I'll keep this in a way that you can see. All right, let this be here and let this be here. All right, so moving away from here, we said if you have, if you want to study, okay, anatomy, you want to consider this concept. The first thing you must understand is that you have to take a posture that will get you engaged. If you sit down, you know you're feeling tired, you stand up. Okay, gonna do this, say, sit down to study. If sitting down to study is getting you overweight, stand up, ask for help. Can take a run, can take a walk. That's Pomoro method. You can do so much without having to do what? Without having to kind of remember the names for those methods you're using to study. So let's pick a few things now because our time is almost going to be up and we're going to be out of this place. We're going to look at the first thing we're looking at today, the different view of the skull. How do you see the skull? For clarity, number one, the skull seen from the above, what you call superior, all right, normal superior, all right. The skull from behind. We have above, we have behind, okay? We have behind, we have behind. Come on, I can't see myself, okay? You have behind, you have in front, and you have the side. So you have above, you have behind, you have in front, what do you call anterior, normal anterior, okay, or normal frontalis, okay. You have normal occipitalis, that's from behind, okay. And then you have normal lateralis, from the side. So this is the side, this is the occipital, okay. Where do we have the occipital? Can you recall? Is it in the visceral cranium or in the neurocranium? Drop it in the comment section. Okay, drop in the comment section. All right, it's in the neurocranium. That's where you find the occipital bone. All right, so we have 4 ways now. That is superior, in front, behind, and lateral. So you can call it slip. S-L-I-B. Slip. SLIB. You see now, this is how we usually learn. And this is how you make it stick. You connect it. You look for a hanger to hang your thought. SLIB. SLIB. S for superior, what do you call normal superior? Okay. L for lateral, what do you call normal lateralis? I for inferior, what you call I for in front, not inferior, sorry. In front, that's anterior, what do you call normal frontalis? Okay, that's the frontal. I can look at it from the front. Remember, this is the face. Stops at the eye orbit. But from here, okay, this way is the neurocranium. This is the visceral cranium. Are you seeing how we are studying this thing? This is exactly how you get to study a few things. Okay, move on. The skull seen from above. So now we are done with sleep. We take from above. So what are the things we find there? A number of few things we find there. Now look at it. The bone forming the anterior part of the vault is the frontal bone. Okay, what do you mean by vault? Remember we say neurocranium is the what? Is the cranial vault. The cranial vault. It contains what? The cranial nerve and the vasculature of the brain. Okay, so we are going to look at it. Vasculature. Okay, so we're going to check this video on vasculature. All right. Next one we talk about so we said the skull seen from above forms part of the vault. Okay, it says it forms the anterior part of the vault. Okay, the bone forming the anterior part of the fault is the frontal bone. You've seen it now, the frontal bone. They call it frontal bone. Okay. Now, two, the greater part of the roof and side walls of the cranial cavity are formed by the right and left parietal bones. Do you still remember parietal? Of course you should. Of course you should. Parietal. Okay. Parietal. We say TP. TP, they are the two places. Temporal, okay, parietal. Temporal, parietal. Temporal is here and then parietal is there. Okay, so we're making progress. We now move to something else very important, and that is number 3. We said the two parietal bones meet in the midline at the sagittal sutures. Okay, we said the tempora are of pairs. You have a tempora here, you have a tempora here. And they said the two parietal bones meet middle. Okay, middle suture. Okay, their anterior margin joins the front suture. How do I get you to see these things now? Can see the frontal bone, see the parietal bone, can see parietal by this side, parietal by this side. That's just what they are trying to say. The description is, so with this thing now you can see the two parietal bones, the temporal bones. Okay, you see the two temporal bones? Can you see? It's called seen from above. Seen from above. Okay, so let's progress. So we've talked about the next one. The posterior part of the vault is formed by the occipital bones, and the occipital bone is joined to the parietal bone at the lambdoid suture. Okay, the lambdoid suture. Okay, can you identify that suture? See the lambdoid suture? See the lambda. You remember lambda in physics, white, okay, ethmoidal, okay, you're going to see odontoid, you're going to see the oid in a lot in the head and neck. You follow? So you should make up your mind to have a lot of oid in the head and neck. Okay, so as we look at anatomy, so we said this is exactly how you look at anatomy. Okay, the reason why your brain does not like studying, it's not only your brain, my brain, all brains does not see, because there's no instant reward. So, but you are the one to create that session. You know, when you watch football match, you watch it with the intention that you're going to argue with a fellow football fan. Either he's in your club, or he's in an antagonistic club, or he's in a neighboring club, an upcoming club, or a already wave-making club. Do you follow? Good. So that's what we are talking about here. So when you look at the end of this session, you should be able to ask yourself, what have I really studied today? 4 things. SLIB. Superior view. How to look at the skull. Different view. The superior view also called normal superior. Normal superior. And then the lateral view, we call it normal lateralis. The frontal view, we call it, okay, in front. That's I for in front. All right, that's in front, view in front. Okay, and how do you call that one? You said normal frontalis, and the B there is behind. How do you call that? Normal occipitalis. Occipitalis at the occiput. I mean, you've heard the word occiput before. Said, Kai, look at this occiput. That's the same thing that happens here. So as you study, remember this channel, we pick it in piecemeal. And as we pick it in piecemeal, we pronounce it in piecemeal. Pronounce it as if you are plastering little by little. You scoop the plaster, boop, you hit it, and then you allow. You let it sink down. And that's the same thing we are doing here. So we pick 4 things now. Now we are picking the superior, the normal superior, normal superior. Okay? Not superioris or superior. Frontalis, occipitalis, lateralis, everything is lis. So you're going to find a lot of oid and lis here. All right. So to reduce all these sentences to a piece of cake, what do? I said the first one, as you pick the skull seen from above, the first thing you see is the bone forming the anterior part of the fault, which is the frontal bone. So from the skull, from the normal superioris, okay, you find the frontal bone. Find the frontal bone. Don't forget, find the front. Let's check if we can see, appreciate the frontal bone. Let's see if we can appreciate the frontal bone. Can you see the frontal bone? Yes. You see the bone forming the this vault, okay, is the frontal bone, this bone here, okay, this forehead here, okay, is a bone they call frontal bone. That's the first thing. So as you look at sleep number one, we have frontal bone. Okay, so we look at another thing. Okay, remember the frontal bone is what forms the anterior part. Okay, frontal bone, okay, anterior part. Okay, then the second thing is the greater part of the roof and side walls of the cranial cavity are formed by the right and left parietal bone. So the second thing is parietal bones. Parietal bones. These parietal bones is the roof and side walls. Remember, the frontal roof forms anterior, okay, forms anterior part of the vault. Okay? Forms anterior part of the vault. Okay, you say F A. Okay, the next one we say parietal bones forms what? It forms the roof and side of the cranial cavity. Forms the roof and side cranial, and they are formed by the left and right parietal bones. So the roof and side, the roof and side. Okay, fab wraps, roof and side. Okay, parietal bone, praise, praise. It was not heard of praise. You can use praise. Praise, good. Praise. And you know, there's a cosmate whose name is Praise. There's a song, yeah, the Christian name is Praise. As parietal bone forms the roof and side. Okay? The roof and side of the cranial cavity. Praise. Praise. Okay? Now, those are two things we've picked now. What's the time with us? Okay, this is 9:42. Okay, we're going to end very shortly. Okay, can we take this to, let's see the timing. What time do we have? We've used 32 minutes. Okay, so that means we're going to shift our 10 o'clock session to at least 15 minutes. You need at least 15 minutes of break. All right, 15 minute of break, take a little water, come back, and then we stretch. That's what you do. You don't study for long. You study for, excuse me, for loading. When you finish loading, you offload. You rest if you must. You rise if you have, since you have, and continuously you go. Are we together? Thumbs up if you are together. So that's that about the skull anatomy. Okay, you have taken a little piecemeal in this episode. Another episode is coming tomorrow. Okay, please watch out for the skull anatomy. Skull anatomy. So skull anatomy, we said we all started from the skull. We said the skull is made up of what? The mandible and the cranium. Okay, the cranium is made up of what? The neurocranium, also called the cranial vault, and what? And the visceral cranium. The visceral cranium, we listed the bones, okay? The bones of the mouth, upper and lower jaw, the bones of the nasal cavity, and the bones of the orbit. We said there are 15. Three single mandibles, okay? No, not mandible, maxilla inferior, this thing, and vomer. Then the other one, we have them, what? You have the, there are 6 pairs. Mention them. Then for the cranial bones, we have the TP. Okay, they are the pairs, 2 pairs, temporally bone, temporal bone, and then we have the parietal bone. Okay, parietal bone. Can see where the parietal bone are. The parietal bone are here. Parietal bone. Okay, moving away from there, we talk about what else? We talk about the sphenoid bone, the ethmoidal bone. We talk about the frontal bone, and then we talk about what? Uh, how do we call it? The ethmoid bone, the sphenoid bone, the frontal bone. We say sephu, occipital bone, occipital sephu. Okay, Sefu or Sophie. Sophie. All right. You have somebody whose name is Sophie, Sophia. Okay. So that's how you do it. Okay. You do it, you write it down, do it, you get fresh page. You see? Fresh page. Okay. So now on another page, we now pick what we have learned so far, fresher page. So today we talk about the 4 different views. Okay, 4 different views for bones. And the first one is we said uh, superior, okay, superior. We have lateral, we have in front, and we have posterior, or what you call behind. Call it sleep. Call it sleep. Okay, excuse me. Okay, we're making progress. It's telling me I have low battery, so I'll need to connect my this thing. Okay, so moving away from there, we have the sleep S for superior, that's norma superioris, and then L for what? Norma lateralis. I for what? Norma frontalis, not norma infrontalis. No, norma frontal, because from the frontal bone. Okay, B is what? Norma, watch this now, occipitalis, because the occipital bone is at the back, the posterior end of this concept. Now, if we end here to be a plus, okay, but guess what? Or let's make it a 40-minute and we pause. We've looked at the superior, okay, there are about 8 things, okay, you can see there, about 8 things, all right, or 9 that make up this. The first one is the frontal bone. This forms the anterior frontal bones forms the anterior part. Okay, the second thing we saw was the parietal. We said praise rather. Praise. What does that mean? The left and right side of the parietal bone forms the roof and sides of the what? Watch this closely. The roof and side of the cranial cavity, say presque. Did you notice that I missed one or two? But we check. So when you read, you pause, you recite, and then you continue. There's no point. See, we are not competing with any channel. But we are trying to make sure that when those channels come and they are finished cramming, you don't know when they will cram it. This one we cram with you. We touch it with you. We say our body is the best anatomy textbook, and we tap it together. And guess what? We master it together. We plaster the thought little by little. We master the thought part by in piecemeal per se. And before you know, we're already making progress. Do you follow? Thumbs up if you are with me. Drop in the comment section if you really appreciate what is happening here. So we've mentioned 2 things now. Okay, first, what forms the cranial cavity? All right, the left and right side of the parietal bone forms the cranial cavity, and then what forms the anterior side, okay, or anterior part, we say is the frontal bone. Parietal bone forms the cranial cavity. The frontal bone forms the what? Anterior part. Okay, can we pick something else? Let's pick Fabres. Okay, Fabres. And then the third one, can we pick the third one? As the 2 parietal bones meet in the midline at the sagittal suture. Okay, the anterior margin joins the front bone at the coronal suture. See, if not, you cram this. We need to see. We talk about the left and right parietal bone, okay, forming the cranial cavity. And we said the 2 bones, okay, meet in the midline of the sagittal structure. And we want to see the sagittal structure. Let's see the sagittal suture. Are you seeing it? So this is the frontal. This is the frontal. So the parietal, something like this. Now, if you let me take this closer. if you gum your teeth together, you see something will come out here. Watch this. Okay. Are you seeing this line that is coming out? Okay. So that's that. That's just when you choose something. Okay. When you choose something, you discover that a part in your bone. When you choose something, a part is coming out like this. So we are saying that this frontal, all right, they meet. Sorry, the parietal, they meet. Okay, they meet. Where do they meet? The two parietal bones, they meet at the sagittal suture. And look at the coronal suture. Okay, the parietal bone and the frontal bone, they meet where? At the coronal suture. So with this diagram, you can see without cramming. Now look at that material again. That's why they say you study with diagram. You want to do something, you sketch. Look at the corona and the sagittal suture meet at the point called bregma. Now, the two parietal meet in a midline at the sagittal suture, which you know is middle here like this. Okay. Now, so we're going to look at the corona and the frontal. See, they meet where you have, the parietal and the frontal meet where you have the coronal suture. See, so point C, we are still describing what is happening there. We said it is such a nice thing to discuss. And when you are done, you should be able to tell what did you really, can you describe the sutures there? We have sutures. There's a suture, like a midline of the suture. And we say the two parietal bones meet in the midline at the sagittal suture. Let's look at that. See, parietal bone by the left, by this side. Another parietal bone by this side. Okay? They meet where? At the sagittal suture. See? So the whole of this bone here, can meet. So this bone meet in the middle. So this a bone, it meets in the middle, forming a suture. So not just memorizing, but capturing, touching it, tap it, get to be used to it. Do you follow? So we've learned a lot today. Sleep and under sleep, as we said, normal superiorlis. Okay, normal superiorlis. What do we find there? We have the anterior, we have the frontal bone. Okay, on the right and on the roof and side, you have the right and left. That's on the roof and side. You have right and left parietal bone. I can say that slowly and allow it to sink in. On the roof and on the side, okay, on the roof and on the side of the superior, okay, view, you have the left and right parietal bone. Now, those two margin, there are two margin, meet in a sagittal suture. That is a suture that's in the middle. Okay, we say suture are wonderful interlink. They are wonderful. They are interlock joints that are interlock. They are interlock joints. Okay, they are interlock joints. Okay, now moving away from there, let's still go back there. It's becoming interesting. You pause and say it. It's not, see, if I was to open this one and read, I mean, I'd like to work. I was just, it's not interesting. But when you are discussing, that's why we say join made such course WhatsApp channel. Let's give you a platform to discuss what you have, and then drop comments to be our guest. Let's give you opportunity to talk in live session like this. Okay. So when you finish reading, DM me. Let's discuss. Tell me what you've read. Okay. Because if you don't have what you want to use it for, you lose it for it. So whatever knowledge, it says study to show. Study to show. All right. So I think we've done a whole lot on this. We've used 44 minutes into this, and we're still talking about the frontal skull. Look at it, the skull seen from the front. You can see the skull, the skull seen from above. You can see that the parietal. Can you see now? They are connected. Connected. Okay. I need to find a way to do this. Okay. Okay. So so I'm gonna charge this guy. All right. Okay. Oh, almost done. Almost done. So we find that now. Okay. So can see now. I think you can see me. Yeah. Yeah. So as we talk about this now, we talk about the sutures. Okay. We are done with the anterior parts. Okay. We've done with the roof and the side. Remember, the roof is called what? What is the roof called? Calvaria or Calvary. From Calvary instead of Ryrie. Calvary. Calvaria. And the base is called what? Let's move on. We talk about the roof and the side. The left and right parietal bone, and both margin of both bone meets at a sagittal suture. Okay. Anterior margin joins the frontal bone at the coronal suture. You see what we are saying? The parietal, the parietal joins the frontal in a coronary suture where you carve your head. And that place you carve your hair when you are bapping. Okay, that's the coronal structure. Let's look at it again. Let's appreciate these bones of the head again. All right. Appreciate this. And you see, you want to study that way. Turn on your WhatsApp recorder as you are reading, you read out. Because a lot of voice of distraction, voice of discouragement, voice of how do I memorize, how do I start from, how do I cram, exam is next date, and all that. But when you practice the see, let me tell you something, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. Just like you watch a movie, one act and scene, one character and music, one stuff and reaction, one emotional step, one move, guess what? Give rise to another. So, but when you study you just look at one page for hours. That's not study. If you study and you cannot retrieve what you study, that's not study. So every study, there must be a retriever. What did I really read? A frontal bone. Okay, where does frontal bone? You see, you're looking at it from the surface. Okay, from the surface, something like this. You see, so it's very important. It's very important, ladies and gentlemen. We want to see how to end this session somewhere, and we come again to this. Okay, we come again to this. Okay, because we planned 30 minutes, but we're already enjoying this session. Thumbs up if you are with me. Yes, I know you are. Give me a thumbs up. Drop in the comment section. Let's get to appreciate how this video has been a help to you. How we are appreciating the bones of the head. Okay. Bones of the head, which is the skull. We talk about the first part, anterior, the roof, and the side parietal. The anterior margin, meets with the frontal loop in a coronal suture. Coronal suture, that's coronal joint. Okay, interlock, especially interlock joint. Okay. And then you have what else? The posterior part of the vault is formed by the occipital bone. You see now, occipital. Let's appreciate the occipital bone. Occipital bone, have you seen it now? It said the occiput, the posterior part, not the superior part, posterior part is formed by, that's the behind now. You see what we are talking about? That's just exactly what we're talking about. Okay, now watch this. Watch this. The coronal and sagittal suture meet at a point called Breakner. What was the corona? This was the corona. This place you carve your head. Okay, the temporalis. Now, and the sagittal is here. They said they meet at a point called what? Bremer. Let's look at the Bremer. Let's look at the Bremer. Let's look at the Bremer. Can you see the Bremer? See. the sagittal and the parietal meet at a brema. That's the center. Okay, center here. That's that place a child's head used to dance. A baby's head used to dance when he's born newly. You see. So that's where we'll end this beautiful session here. Okay, we are going to continue after we are done with the major programs you have lined for today. Please don't fail to watch it. Don't fail to watch. This is just a part of it. Look at it. The occipital bone is joined to the parietal bone at the lamboid suture. So you see all the bones where each is lining with. Okay, parietal here, occipital here, that join at a lamboid structure. That's that kind of thing you call brema on the superior. Now on the inferior, posterior, there's a lumbar, that Y shape, superiorly Y shape behind. That's the lumbar. Okay, if you don't appreciate, see what is happening. The same, this I say occipital bone, parietal and occipital join at where? The lamboid, the two parietal bone join with the occipital bone at this thing. Okay, so you see now. So we are done with that now. He said in the fetal skull, gaps exist between the bones called fontanelles at the two main locations, thereby giving rise to anterior and posterior fontanelles. Are you seeing it now? So you've heard of fontanelles. Okay, these are called spaces in babies. Spaces in babies. Instead of sutures, you have spaces in babies. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Let's end this session here. We're still going to continue with these bones. It's so nice. Let's get to something else. Thank you. But don't forget to share and subscribe. Let's reach out to thousands of students who needs this video. Let them see how to make anatomy. And I did promise at the end, I'm going to tell you, mix it in between. So if you have not watched it, watch from the beginning, how you can make your study and your this thing together. You can mix your watching of movie. Okay, how do you apply the same process in studying, whether anatomy or any other course? All right, so what you get to learn. One we are going to send the picture on these things down across to you. I'm going to send it across so that you really appreciate. We can't really achieve all that in piecemeal of 30 minutes to 1 hour. But we are going to achieve that much more as you do short something, so that you see where we started. We start together, and when we now create a master class video, you really appreciate. Oh, this master class started from a plaster class. It started from a blaster class. Started from a scattered class. Started from. Do you understand, a blister class? All right. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being a part of this. Like and share. I will meet again in the next video. Do share to be a blessing to your loved one. These people will be treated by your loved ones, okay, or your loved one will be treated by these people you are sharing this. So subscribe, like we handheld you, okay, to understand this, handheld them to subscribe and share and like and comment, but most importantly, subscribe. Do you follow? Okay.